All right, folks. Look, man, I normally don't do this. I normally don't record these instant reaction videos and post them on YouTube. I like to plan out my shows, a lot of post pro, editing, all of that. Not doing any of that. Not doing none of that. I'm talking to y'all and I'm going to have a real conversation here because I said today on Twitter earlier today, long before the Alabama LSU game, I said that DeVonta Smith, wide receiver Alabama, or Jamar Chase, the opt-out wide receiver, the reigning Biletnikoff Award winning wide receiver from LSU, those would be one of the first. One of those guys would be the first wide receiver off of the board. And my mentions just on fire. Oh my God, DeVonta Smith, Henry Ruggs 2.0. He's too skinny. He's not good enough. He's a senior. He came back for a senior year, so he's not good. All that kind of shit. Of course, I had some people, yeah, I love him. DeVonta Smith is dope. And then tonight, goes out there. What does he have? 8 receptions. Let me see. What did he do? 8 receptions, 231 and 3, 200 yards in the first half against LSU. And I know this LSU team is not the same team that won the national championship last year. I know that. No Joe Burrow, Clyde, Justin Jefferson, Dad Moss, multiple players leaving on the defensive side, Patrick Queen, Grant Delpit. But they still have arguably the best defensive back in the country in Derek Stingley Jr. They still have talented defensive backs. They still have talented linebackers. It's still LSU, right? And it was a home game for LSU, and you look across the Death Valley Stadium, and it's not even, 15% capacity filled. And DeVonta Smith just goes out there and tears their ass up, man. And I don't know what else to really say. Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that he's the first wide receiver drafted in 2021 over Jamar Chase, over Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle had a real shot at that prior to his ankle injury. I think the speed, the comparables to Tyreek Hill, the dynamism that he possesses. But when you're talking, I'm looking at Smith, man. I don't. Where's his weakness at? The only thing that people can talk about, 2 things. He came back for a senior season, which I believe was probably the best decision that he could have made. Because had he entered the draft in 2021, he still would have been picked after CeeDee Lamb. Jerry Jeudy would have gone before him. Henry Ruggs would have been picked before him. Probably Rager and Jefferson. So you're looking at a player, and shit, that's not to mention T. Higgins and Michael Pittman in the early second. So not only did he make himself a tremendous amount of money, I think he's in a prime position to be the first wide receiver drafted. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to put it on wax right now. And it may not happen. And if it's Jamar Chase, it's Jamar Chase. But DeVonta Smith's going to be the first wide receiver off the board in 2021. His production in the SEC over the past 3 years has been outstanding. True freshman, 160 yards, 3 TDs. Sophomore season, went for 600-something yards, 6 TDs. Last year, over 1,200 yards, 14 TDs. And coming into this game, he had close to 1,100 yards and 12 TDs, so add another 200 to that. So he's probably over his total from last year, total receiving yards from last year. He's got more touchdowns than last year with 15. He's a monster. He's an absolute monster. I don't know what else you want in a wide receiver prospect. And I'm not sitting here saying that this dude is going to be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. I'm not saying that he's a locked and loaded for fantasy football, a WR1, a top 12 wide receiver. But top 20, definitely. I mean, he's a high end. If we're talking about fantasy football, just fantasy football, right? I think he's a rock solid wide receiver too for your team. I mean, that's what he is. The dude is outstanding. He's going to test fast. And people think this dude didn't just come out of nowhere, man. He was a highly rated prospect, 4-star recruit, U.S. Army All-American. He was rated higher coming out of high school than CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson and Henry Ruggs and Jalen Rager and Tylan Wallace and all of those cats, man. And all he's done at Alabama is answer the bell, answer the call every single time he's on the field. And to watch these people just talk about he's 174. What if he's 180? You know what I'm saying? 185. Listen. Football ain't complicated, man. This game isn't hard. I'm gonna kick the game to you like this. Good players, good draft capital. There you go. I mean, at a macro level, at a 10,000 foot view, you want to draft good players who are picked early in the NFL draft. Now, does that mean that said player is a lock to succeed at the NFL? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that. If it were that easy, nobody would miss. But damn it, when you're just talking about like the bare nuts and bolts of what this game is, there it is, man. And what have we seen to suggest otherwise that DeVonta Smith is not going to be a legitimate NFL weapon next year or the year after? He's going to be drafted early. I'm putting it on paper. I think he's the first wide receiver off of the board. He does everything that Ja'Marr Chase does. Everything that he does. I believe he's faster. He's more explosive. He's a better route runner. He's better at creating separation. Ja'Marr Chase is a stud. And for those of you who think I'm shitting on Ja'Marr Chase, that's not the case. He's my second-rated wide receiver in the 2021 class behind Rondale Moore. I've got DeVonta Smith at 3. And after what I'm seeing after what I saw from him tonight and what I've seen from him consistently over the past 2 seasons, I mean, it's hard for me to keep him there. It's going to be real hard for me to keep that man at the third wide receiver. He's locked in. And for me, tier-based approaches is how I like to rank these guys, right? So he's locked in at tier 1 wide receiver. There's 4 tier 1 guys. It's Waddle, it's Smith, it's Ja'Marr Chase, and it's Rondale Moore. So depending on where they're drafted in the landing spot, that will kind of, clear out and filter out how I have these guys finally. But he's an absolute stud. And all of that 175, this football ain't complicated, man. Oh, Ray, historically, you know that the hit rate historically of these wide receivers weighing 170 pounds, miss me with all that shit. It's just not part of what I do. I'm not going to sit on here and talk about a player who's going to win the Biletnikoff Award, who's produced in the SEC, who's dominated with 2 other NFL first-round picks on his team, who's dominating right now as the only guy who looks like John Mechie looks good, but I don't think John Mechie's a first-round pick. Jaleel Billingsley looks good, but I don't think he's a first-round pick at tight end. So I've seen him do it with first-round talent playing next to him, and I'm seeing him do it as the guy. LSU was triple-teaming this guy. Safety over top, 2 cornerbacks, shadow coverage, bracket coverage. They were trying everything in their power to eliminate DeVonta Smith, and it did not happen. He's that good, man. He's that good. And, those of you who rock with me and follow me on Twitter at RayGQ, y'all know, and I said it tonight, I don't give a damn. There's some bad analysts out there. People who just rank in an echo chamber because everyone said Ja'Marr Chase was that dude last year. They just keep him there. Just ignore current information that's presented to him because of what he did last year with Joe Burrow, with Justin Jefferson. And I said this too. I just want y'all to think about this. I'm going to just kick this to you. Just think about this, right? All last year, we talked about how good Ja'Marr Chase was, and therefore that allowed Justin Jefferson to produce the way that he did. And let me just reiterate this to you. Justin Jefferson last year, over 110 receptions, 1,500 yards, 18 TDs. Ja'Marr Chase, believe he was in the 70s receptions, 1,780 yards, 20 touchdowns, Biletnikoff Award winner, phenomenal stats. So you had 2 guys go over 1,500, 2 guys go over 18 touchdowns, and one of those guys had over 110 receptions. And we kept talking about how Ja'Marr Chase unlocked Justin Jefferson. We see what Jefferson's doing right now in the NFL as a rookie, on pace to break Randy Moss's records, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now, currently playing today. I just asked the question, was it not Justin Jefferson that unlocked Ja'Marr Chase to allow him to do what he did? Both players are studs. But don't discount how damn good Justin Jefferson was on that team last year, because we see what he's doing in the NFL right now. So when I asked that question, it's not to diminish Ja'Marr Chase, but that's to just say that team, that LSU team last year was historic on every level. Every level. Thaddeus Moss, Terrace Marshall, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow threw for 60. 60 tubbies, man. 60. DeVonta Smith is catching passes from Mac Jones, who people still think that he's not good. Mac Jones is my third ranked quarterback in the class, over Zach Wilson, over Trey Lance, over Kyle Trask. Mac Jones, I don't think he's some high-end NFL starter, but I do think he can be a capable starter in the league. I think he can be a better version of Kirk Cousins. He can be a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo. They got some players, man. And DeVonta Smith, I don't give a damn how much he weighs, any of that stuff. I've seen enough. I already saw enough because I talked about this shit before the game even started. And he's going to be the first wide receiver pick. When it's all said and done, I believe DeVonta Smith is the first wide receiver off the board. And if it happens to be Chase, I bet you then DeVonta Smith is going to follow shortly after. And just real quick, Najee Harris is a stud, man. Najee is so good. He's a combination of Steven Jackson and Matt Forte. 6'2", 230 pounds, dude that can move like that laterally, the burst, the explosion. Doesn't have the long end speed like a Travis Etienne. But the physicality, 3-down back, 6'2", 230. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people at the combine. But DeVonta Smith, y'all, like, fade the crazy, silly stuff, fade the nonsense, all that BMI shit. Like, I'm not worried about it. Absolute stud. Instant reaction. The game is still going on right now. Game is still going on. I just had to come holler at y'all. Alabama up 55-17. Mac Jones balled. Najee 3 TDs. Smith 3 TDs. Dude's a beast. So if you're in Fantasy League, make sure you get him in Dynasty. They're going to pair him up with Tua. Watch. DeVonta Smith to Miami. Tua to DeVonta. It might get Najee. I mean, shit, it could be Alabama Tuscaloosa down in Florida, in Miami, baby. So just wanted to drop by. I'll let y'all real quick. I'll be back later this week. More content, more heat. Destination Devi, y'all know who it is. I'm out. Peace.